German commanders dismissed them as a phantom force. They laughed at their inflatable tanks and rubber airplanes. But this secret army of 1,100 American artists and sound engineers would pull off the greatest deception of the war, fooling the entire German high command and saving D-Day. August 19th, 1942, 0500 hours. The English Channel, 5 miles off the coast of Dieppe, France. From the steel bridge of the destroyer HMS Calpe, the scene is a portrait of industrial hell, the air thick with the taste of salt, diesel fumes, and Cordatis alive with the shriek of Stuka dive bombers. You don't just hear the sirens, you feel them in your teeth. On the grey pebble beach, the 2nd Canadian Infantry Division is being systematically erased. This is Operation Jubilee, the first major Allied attempt to storm Adolf Hitler's fortress Europe, and it is a blood-soaked catastrophe. Through binoculars, Allied planners watch in cold, abject horror. They see the brand-new Churchill tanks, supposedly the key to the assault, struggling on the beach. Their heavy treads, designed for mud and earth, spin uselessly on the fist-sized pebbles, the chert. They are immobilized, becoming steel coffins for their crews as German 88mm and Pak 38 anti-tank guns, hidden in concrete bunkers carved into the cliffs, find their range. The plan was to seize the port, hold it for 2 tides, and prove a cross-channel invasion was possible. Instead, it's a lesson paid for in blood. The Luftwaffe owns the sky. The coastal defences are stronger than any intelligence report had suggested. The Wehrmacht responds with shocking speed and brutality. By 1400 hours, the order is given, evacuate. Of the nearly 6,100 men who went ashore, more than 3,600 are killed, wounded, or captured. In the silent, grim planning rooms of London, in the weeks that follow, one fact crystallizes, hard as diamond. The truth is not enough. Brute force is not enough. Attacking where the enemy expects you is suicide. The failure at Dieppe proves that the Atlantic Wall is not a line of sand. It is a fortress of interlocking steel and concrete, manned by veteran troops who believe in their Führer. To breach it, the Allies will need the largest amphibious force ever assembled, but even that won't be enough if the Germans know where they are coming. The real invasion, codenamed Operation Overlord, will be a go-for-broke affair. If the Panzer Division's Hitler's mobile reserve air waiting on the beaches, the invasion will fail before it starts. The English Channel will run red, and the war could be lost. The Allies don't just need to fight the German army, they need to break the German mind. The idea isn't new. The British, pioneers of military cunning, had already proven the concept in the deserts of North Africa. Under the brilliant and eccentric Dudley Clark, they had created a phantom force at El Alamein, using canvas sun shields to disguise tanks as supply trucks and flimsy dummy tanks to create a ghost armoured division, drawing Rommel's panzers out of position. Now, the Americans, the masters of mass production, had to learn the subtle art of mass deception. In Washington, D.C., and at Camp Forest, Tennessee, a new unit is quietly authorized. It's given the most mind-numbingly boring name imaginable, the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. It is the perfect cover. The call goes out, not for hardened infantry or grizzled paratroopers, but for a different kind of soldier. The army scours its ranks for men with high IQs and specific, peculiar talents. They pull visual artists from the Pratt Institute, sound engineers from RCA and Bell Labs, architects, advertising executives from Madison Avenue, and Hollywood set designers. Men like Bill Blass, the future fashion icon, Ellsworth Kelly, the abstract painter, and Arthur Singer, the wildlife illustrator. These men are not being trained to fire a rifle. They are being trained to perform. Their mission is simple in concept, infinitely complex in execution, to create a traveling roadshow of war. They will use illusion, sound, and radio magic to become a 20,000-man phantom force. They will be armed not with high-explosive shells, but with inflatable rubber. Their heaviest weapon will be a 500-pound loudspeaker. Their first and most critical assignment, Operation Fortitude. To convince the German High Command and Hitler that the greatest invasion in human history is aimed not at the quiet beaches of Normandy, but at the heavily fortified port of Pas-de-Calais, they must create an entire phantom army, the first U.S. Army Group, FUSA, and make it so real, so threatening, that Hitler holds his best divisions in place, waiting for a ghost. Spring 1944. The counties of Kent and Essex, southeast England. This is the staging ground. From here, the coast of Pas-de-Calais is a mere 21 miles away, easily visible on a clear day, and the Germans are watching. Luftwaffe reconnaissance planes, high-altitude Focke-Wulf full 190 seconds, make daring, high-speed runs over the coast, their camera pods clicking. German signals intelligence, the Funkabwehr, have their listening stations all along the French coast, their headphones pressed tight, straining to interpret the massive build-up of radio traffic. They are looking for the army of General George S. Patton, and the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops is going to give it to them. The 1,100 men of the Ghost Army are divided into three main units, a trinity of deception. First, the visuals. This is the domain of the 603rd Engineer Camouflage Battalion. These are the artists, the architects, the set designers. Their job is to build the body of the beast. They begin to uncrate their primary weapon, the M4 Sherman, Type V. It arrives in a duffel bag. A team of 4 men pulls the limp olive-drab pile onto the grass. They fire up a pneumatic air compressor. With a deafening hiss, the pile begins to grow. A turret inflates. A 6-inch long rubber tube becomes a 75mm main gun. Seams stretch, and in 20 minutes, a 40-ton tank is sitting in the field, its rubber skin glistening in the damp English air. It weighs 93 pounds. 4 men can walk up to it, lift it, and rotate it by hand, a sight that would send a German intelligence analyst into a fit of madness. But the German planes are at 15,000 feet. From that height, the rubber M4 is indistinguishable from a steel one. Soon, entire armoured divisions populate the fields. Inflatable L5 reconnaissance planes are parked on dummy airfields. Rows of rubber Long Tom 155mm artillery guns sit in fake gun pits, their barrels pointing menacingly toward France. The 603rd even creates fake supply dumps, painting logos on thousands of empty oil drums. But this isn't just about props, it's about performance. An army moves. A real tank division leaves 10,000 tons of steel, mud, and diesel in its wake. So, the 603rd gets to work with bulldozers. They carve fake tank tracks into the roads and fields, creating the illusion of heavy vehicles on the move. They create stage camps, but they must be professionally sloppy. They string up laundry lines. They build fake latrines. A real army is messy, and perfection would be a giveaway. Second, the sound. This is the job of the 3,132nd Signal Service Company. The visuals can fool the Luftwaffe's cameras, but they can't fool a sound-ranging microphone in the dead of night. An army has a voice. It is a constant, deafening rumble of machinery and men. The 3,132nd brings the orchestra. Their primary instrument is a set of massive, 500-pound speakers mounted on the back of M3 half-tracks. Their music is a library of high-fidelity audio recordings captured at Fort Knox. Engineers at Bell Labs had painstakingly recorded every sound of a mechanized army. They have records for a Sherman column moving at 15 miles per hour, records for the clank and shout of an engineering battalion constructing a pontoon bridge, records for the chatter and curses of infantrymen on a route march. From a hidden half-track, a single sound engineer could mix these sounds. He could make it sound like a tank battalion was moving into the woods 3 miles away. He could make a non-existent engineering corps build a bridge all night. When amplified, the sound could travel 15 miles, a terrifying, invisible wave of acoustic illusion that cemented what the reconnaissance photos suggested. Finally, the radio. The signal company, special. This is the most subtle and most critical piece. The Funkabwehr was brilliant at identifying units by their radio chatter. More than that, they identified operators. Every Morse code operator has a unique fist, a specific rhythm, a cadence, like a signature. The 23rd's operators are mimics. They have spent months studying the fist of every real radio operator in Patton's very real Third Army, which is currently, and secretly, moving west toward the actual invasion ports for Normandy. As the real units go silent, the 23rd's operators take over their call signs. They spoof their traffic. They move from location to location in Kent, broadcasting fake orders, fake supply requests, mundane complaints about the English weatherall in the perfect, mimicked fist of an operator who is, at that very moment, 100 miles away. To the German listeners in Calais, it sounds like Patton's Fusag isn't just sitting still. It's growing, maneuvering, and preparing for the kill. The stage is set. The actors are in place. The inflatable tanks are full of air. The speakers are wired, and the airwaves are humming with lies. And as the star of the show, General Patton himself stomps around Kent, making loud, indiscreet speeches, ensuring German spies report his presence. Now, all the Ghost Army can do is wait and see if the Wehrmacht takes the bait. Late May, 1944, Saint-Germain-en-Laye, France. The headquarters of Oberbefehlshaber West, OB, West. Inside his command, General Feldmarschall Gerd von Rundstedt, the picture of aristocratic Prussian military tradition, lights another cigarette. He is 68 years old, a relic of a different era, and he is tasked with defending a 3,000-mile coastline against the largest industrial power on Earth. He is not impressed by the Atlantic Wall. He has privately called it a cheap propaganda bluff. He knows it is a thin crust, strong at the ports, but weak in between. For him, the only way to defeat the invasion is with a massive, mobile, armoured counterattack, the Panzer Reserve. The question is, where to strike? On the massive map table before him, the intelligence paints a devastatingly clear picture. The entire southeastern corner of England, the county of Kent, is overflowing. The Funkabwehr, Germany's signals intelligence, has been working overtime. Their reports are flooding Rundstedt's desk. They have identified and are tracking the headquarters of an entire army group, FUSAG, the first US Army group. The volume of radio traffic is immense, and it's all high grade, meaning headquarters to division-level commands. This isn't a feint. This is the main administrative and operational spine of an invasion force. This is the work of the 23rd's Signal Company, their fists, perfectly mimicking the real operators who are now hundreds of miles away, silent. Then come the Luftwaffe reconnaissance photos. Pilots, flying at the absolute limit of their FOV 190 seconds, have returned with images that chill the German high command. They show vast motor pools. They show fields clogged with Sherman tanks. They show endless rows of heavy artillery. This is the handiwork of the 603rd Camouflage Engineers. The rubber tanks, perfect from 15,000 feet, confirm the radio's story. And finally, there is the star, General George S. Patton. The Germans know Patton. They studied him in Sicily. They consider him the Allies' most aggressive, most talented, and most important field commander. And every German spy, every signal intercept, places Patton in Kent, in command of FUSAG. The conclusion is not just logical, it is unavoidable. The Allies will strike at Pas-de-Calais. It is the shortest sea route. It is the most direct path to the industrial heart of the Reich. It is where the V1 and V2 launch sites are, and it is where the Allies' best general is poised with an army group of at least 30 divisions. This is the consensus at OB West. It is the consensus at OKW, the High Command in Berlin. Only one man violently disagrees. At his headquarters at La Roche-Guyon, General Feldmarschall Erwin Rommel, commander of Army Group B, is frantic. The Desert Fox is a fighter, not a strategist like Rundstedt, and he has a gut feeling. He has been touring the beaches of Normandy, kicking at the sand, barking orders, planting millions of minus the Rommelspargel, or Rommel's asparagus. Rommel fears Normandy. He fears its wide, flat beaches, perfect for a mass landing, unlike the sheer cliffs of Calais. He pleads with Rundstedt, and with Hitler himself, to move the panzer divisions. He wants them close to the coast, ready to smash the invasion in the first 24 hours, before the Allies can establish a beachhead. Rundstedt refuses. The evidence for Calais is too strong. The real battle will be fought there. The German command structure is now split by this single, critical argument. The Panzer reserve specifically, the 1st SS Leibstandart, the 12th SS Hitlerjugend, 2nd Panzer, and 116th Panzer divisions are the key. They are the mobile fire brigade that can destroy the invasion. Rommel wants them near Normandy. Rundstedt wants to hold them back for the real fight at Calais. And in this debate, only one man's opinion matters. At his Berghof retreat, Adolf Hitler looks at the same intelligence reports. He sees Patton. He sees the divisions in Kent. The deception confirms his own intuition. He decides on a compromise that is a victory for the deceivers. He will hold the panzers in reserve, under his personal command. No one can move them without his direct approval. And he, like Rundstedt, is now staring fixedly at Pas-de-Calais. The Ghost Army has done its job. It has taken the Germans' deepest strategic bias and fed it with a banquet of proof. The entire German 15th Army 19 divisions strongies dug in at Calais, waiting for an army of rubber, sound, and radio waves. Meanwhile, just across the channel, the real invasion operation Neptunus in its final hours. In the ports of Southampton, Portsmouth, and Dartmouth, 160,000 men are checking their gear. The 101st Airborne is painting their faces. The real Sherman tanks are having their engines waterproofed, and their radios are utterly silent. June 6th, 1944, 1:11 hours. Château de la Roche-Guyon. Headquarters, Army Group B. The teleprinter in the command bunker chatters to life, its keys striking the paper with a sound like dry bones. A frantic message comes in from the 716th Infantry Division, stationed in Normandy. Paratroopers, landing east of the Orne. General Hans Speidel, Rommel's chief of staff, reads the report. This is it. He immediately tries to contact General Feldmarschall Rommel, but the Desert Fox is in Germany, en route to Hitler's headquarters, having stopped to give his wife shoes for her 50th birthday. He is fatefully, tragically, out of command. At 0215 hours, at OB West, Gerd von Rundstedt is woken. More reports, paratroopers, gliders. He is unconcerned, annoyed even. This is exactly what he expected, a diversionary operation. He orders his chief of staff to handle it, rolls over, and tries to go back to sleep. By 0630 hours, sleep is impossible. The entire German 7th Army Command is screaming. From the Cotentin Peninsula to the Orne estuary, the message is the same. Massive naval bombardment. Fleet of thousands of ships. Landing craft approaching the beaches. At La Roche-Guyon, Speidel makes the call he knows he must. He requests the immediate release of the 1st SS Leibstandarte and 12th SS Hitlerjugend Panzer Divisions, the Armoured Fist, waiting in reserve. The request goes to OB West. Rundstedt, now fully awake and grasping the scale of the landings, agrees. This is a major assault, though still likely the feint. He forwards the request to the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, OKW, in Berlin. The request lands on the desk of General Alfred Jodl, and here, the Ghost Army wins the Battle of Normandy. Jodl and his superior, Field Marshal Keitel, stare at their own map. On it, Fusag, the 1st U.S. Army Group, under Patton remains, a dagger poised at Pas-de-Calais. The Funkabuer reports, sitting right next to the Normandy reports, are clear. Patton's army is at full readiness. His radio traffic has not diminished. Jodl's logic is paralyzed by the lie. If this Normandy assault is the main invasion, why is Patton, their best general, sitting in Kent? It makes no sense. This must be the diversion to draw the panzers south, only for Patton to strike the real blow at Calais. The decision is made. The Panzer Reserve will not be released. At the Berghof, Hitler is asleep. No one dares to wake him. When he finally rises, late in the morning, and is presented with the same reports, His intuition aligns perfectly with the illusion. "It is a feint," he declares. He is ecstatic. The Allies have fallen into his trap. He orders the panzers to stay put. The 15th Army at Calais is to remain on high alert. The real invasion is still to come. On Omaha Beach, the 1st Infantry Division is being cut to ribbons. On Utah, the 4th Infantry is clawing its way inland. The fragile beachhead is only yards deep, a sliver of blood and sand. The men are fighting for their lives. And just 60 miles away, the 12th SS Hitlerjugend fanatical division of 17,000 men and 150 tanks is sitting on its hands, waiting for an order that will not come. Only one unit, the 21st Panzer Division, is close enough to counterattack on its own. It moves on the British at Sword Beach, causing panic and chaos. But it is one division, alone. Without support, it is hammered by Allied naval guns and Typhoon fighter bombers. Its attack sputters and fails. For 24 hours, for 48 hours, for a full week, the German High Command remains convinced that Normandy is the sideshow. And the Ghost Army? They don't stop. They increase their activity. In Kent, the 3,132nd Signal Service Company cranks up its loudspeakers. They broadcast the sounds of divisions moving to embarkation ports. The signal company's radio operators begin sending a flood of new, urgent messages, spoofing the FUSAG command net, alluding to their D-Day, their H-hour. The Funkerbear intercepts it all. The reports land on Rundstedt's desk. It is irrefutable proof. Patton is on the move. The lie is holding. The German 15th Army, 19 divisions, 250,000 men remains frozen in place, staring at an empty sea, listening to a ghost. Every day they wait. The Allies pour thousands more men and 1 million more tons of supplies into the Normandy beachhead. The lodgment becomes a foothold. The foothold becomes a front. The deception has bought the Allies the one thing they cannot manufacture: time. But for the 1,100 men of the 23rd, the show is not over. It's time to take their act on the road. July 1944. The Normandy bocage, near Cerisy-la-Forêt. The war has moved on. Operation Cobra, Patton's violent breakout, has shattered the German line. The Wehrmacht is no longer fighting for France. It is in a full, panicked retreat. The men of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops finally cross the Channel. They are no longer the main event. They are a support act, but their mission is now infinitely more dangerous. In England, a mistake meant the deception failed. In France, a mistake means a German 88mm artillery shell lands on your position. They are no longer 100 miles from the enemy. They are often less than 2. Their first assignments are small, designed to patch holes. They are attached to General Patton's 12th Army Group, a phantom division to be deployed on demand. If a real unit needs to move secretly, the 23rd moves in to take its place, like a spectral understudy. Their first major test comes in August. The Allied armies are fanning out. The port city of Brest, a critical strategic objective, is being held by 25,000 fanatical German paratroopers and fortress troops under General Major Hermann Bernhard Ramke. The US 6th Armored Division has been battering itself against this fortress for weeks. They are exhausted, combat ineffective. They need to be pulled off the line to rest, refit, and rearm. But a 20-mile gap in the American line is an open invitation for a German counterattack. If Ramke realizes the 6th Armored is gone, he can reposition his forces to meet the real attack when it comes. The 6th Armored is ordered to slip away under the cover of total darkness. As their last real tank rumbles away, the 1,100 men of the 23rd move in to become all 15,000 men of the 6th Armored Division. This is a whole new level of performance. The 603rd Engineers roll out their rubber Shermans and long toms, but this time they park them in the orchards and hedgerows from which the real tanks just left. They take the few real jeeps and trucks they have, paint the 6th Armored's distinct divisional patch on the bumpers, and send them on convoys. 10 trucks driving in a large circular loop, going out one road and returning on another, looking like a fresh supply column. The signal company goes into overdrive. They have the 6th Armoured's call signs and frequencies. Their mimics fire up their radios and begin broadcasting. Need ammo at point 112. Send rations to Charlie Company. Patrol at grid. To the German listening posts, the 6th Armoured's radio net is as busy as ever. But the real star is the 3,132nd Signal Service Company. The sound, guys. From their half-tracks, hidden just behind the front, they unleash their symphony. This isn't the vague, 1-5-mile-away rumble of Kent. This is close-quarters audio warfare. All night, German sentries, their nerves already shot, are subjected to a concert of illusion. They hear the clank and squeal of a full-tank column moving into a new position just over the hill. They hear the distant shouts and hammering of an engineering battalion repairing a bridge. They hear the rumble of tank engines idling, a sound that promises an attack at dawn. For an entire week, the 1,100 men of the Ghost Army hold the line. They create so much activity, so much radio chatter, so much sound, so many visual targets for German artillery that General Major Ramke becomes convinced the 6th Armoured is not resting, but is, in fact, preparing for a massive frontal assault on his position. He orders his artillery to pre-sight the 23rd's phantom positions. He keeps his best troops dug in, staring at rubber tanks and loudspeakers, and miles away, the real 6th Armoured Division rests. They get new tanks, new men, and hot food. Then, fully refreshed, they are moved to a completely different sector of the front. When the final attack on Brest comes, it slams into the German flank from a direction Ramke never anticipated. The deception is a stunning success. The 23rd has proven its tactical value. But as summer turns to autumn, the easy advance across France is over. The Wehrmacht is no longer retreating, it is digging in. They have reached the homeland, the Siegfried Line, and the Ghost Army is about to be sent into its most audacious and dangerous deception yet. September 1944. The border of Germany, near the Hürtgen forest. The smell of autumn is gone, replaced by the odour of wet pine, diesel, and death. This is not France. The easy advance is over. This is the Reich, and the Wehrmacht is fighting with a primal ferocity the Allies haven't seen since Normandy. They have reached the Siegfried Line, the West Wall. It is a belt of interlocking concrete bunkers, dragon's teeth, anti-tank obstacles, and minefields, all set in terrain, designed by nature to be defended, dense, dark forests and steep river valleys. The US 9th Army, under General William Simpson, is ordered to find a way through. Their objective, the Ruhr River. But the German 15th Army and 5th Panzer Army, under the brilliant and ruthless General Feldmarschall Walter Model, are waiting for them. Every pillbox is manned, every artillery piece is pre-sighted. A frontal assault would be a massacre. The 9th Army needs an edge. They need to make Model look the wrong way. The call goes out to the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. This will be their masterpiece. Operation Viersen. The plan is audacious. The 9th Army is going to attack south, near Jülich. The Ghost Army is tasked with convincing the Germans that the main assault is coming 20 miles to the north, near the town of Viersen. This time, they won't be impersonating one division. They have to impersonate two. The 30th Infantry Division, Old Hickory, and the 79th Infantry Division, Cross of Lorraine, are secretly pulled out of the line, leaving a gap. The 1,100 men of the 23rd move in to fill it. The danger is immediate. The previous deceptions were run from a safe distance. Now, their positions are on the front line. The average distance to the German bunkers across the river is 700 yards. They can hear the enemy soldiers talking. They are well within mortar, machine gun, and sniper range. The performance begins. The 603rd Camouflage Engineers run their few real trucks in looping convoys to simulate the arrival of two full divisions' 30,000 men. They deploy their rubber artillery, but this time they add a new, critical element, fake divisional command posts. To add a layer of human illusion, the 23rd deploys its spoof detachment. These are actors. Men are given the exact shoulder patches of the 30th and 79th Divisions. They drive jeeps into the local towns, deliberately letting themselves be seen by any remaining and assumedly watchful French or German civilians. They talk loudly in cafes about their new unit and the big push coming. The signal company mimics begin broadcasting. They now have to simulate the radio traffic of 2 entire divisional headquarters, plus all their subordinate regiments. The airwaves hum with fake supply requests, artillery coordinates, and patrol reports, all in the perfect fists of the 30th and 79th's real operators. But the most terrifying job falls to the 3,132nd Sound Company. To cross a river, an army has to build pontoon bridges. This is the loudest, most unmistakable sound of an impending attack. The 23rd is ordered to build the bridges. For 3 nights, under a cold, driving rain, the sound engineers push their half-tracks to the very edge of the raw river. They point their 500-pound speakers at the German lines, and they play their records. A German machine gunner, huddled in his concrete pillbox, hears it. First, the low growl of bulldozers, carving out an embankment. Then, the unmistakable clang of steel pontoon sections being locked together, the thwack, thwack, thwack of heavy hammers, and weaving through it all, the muffled shouts of American NCOs, all amplified and echoed across the dark valley. To the Germans, this is not a recording. This is the prelude to their annihilation. The German command, listening to the sound reports and the radio intercepts, is convinced. This is the Schwerpunkt, the main point of attack. On the 3rd night, the German artillery, which Model had been carefully husbanding, unleashes hell. The Nebelwerfer screaming Mimi rockets wail. The vicious crack of 88mm shells echoes across the valley as the Germans plaster the bridge site. They are firing at a loudspeaker. The men of the 23rd hunker down in their foxholes, listening to the shells shred their inflatable tanks and rubber trucks. This is the sound of success. Every shell wasted on them is a shell not falling on the real 30th and 79th divisions. Then, 20 miles to the south, the real Operation Queen kicks off. The 9th Army slams into a German line that has been stretched thin, its artillery out of position, its reserves looking the wrong way. The crossing is a success. The Ghost Army has once again shaped the battlefield. They have saved countless American lives. As winter deepens and the front stabilizes, the 23rd is finally pulled off the line. They are sent to a quiet sector for rest and refit, a seemingly forgotten, sleepy, snow-covered forest in Luxembourg, the Ardennes, December 16th, 1944. 05:30 hours. A snow-covered forest near the Luxembourg-German border. It is profoundly, painfully cold. The kind of cold that seeps past wool and steel and settles deep in your bones. The air is so still, a snapped twig sounds like a rifle shot. In the city of Luxembourg, the men of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops are in their first rest sector since landing in France. They are billeted in buildings. They are dreaming of hot food, mail from home, and a Christmas they believe will be their last in Europe. The war is ending. The silence is not broken. It is annihilated. From the German border, a wall of yellow-white light flashes. A split second later, the sound arrives continuous, rolling thunder that is not thunder. 1,000 German artillery pieces and Nebelwerfer rockets open up at once. The quiet sector erupts in fire, steel, and screaming. This is Unternehmen Wacht am Rhein, Operation Watch on the Rhine. It is the last, most desperate gamble of Adolf Hitler. 3 German armies, over 200,000 men and nearly 1,000 tanks and assault guns, including the terrifying King Tiger, have been assembled in total radio silence. They smash into the thinnest, weakest part of the American line, held by green, combat untested divisions. For the 23rd, the war has been a script they write. Now, the script is gone. They are scattered in and around Luxembourg City, which is also the headquarters of General Omar Bradley's 12th Army Group. The reports flooding their command post are not intel. They are panic. Real tanks. Repeat. Real tanks. Panthers in the wire at Hosingen. We are being overrun. This is not a performance. There is no plan. This is a blitzkrieg. And the Ghost Army is directly in its path. Their arsenal of illusion is useless. A loudspeaker cannot stop a 70-ton King Tiger. A rubber Sherman cannot hold a crossroads. Their primary weapon is the M2, 50 caliber machine gun, mounted on their half-tracks. They are, for the first time, a light infantry unit, and they are facing the 6th Panzer Army. General Bradley's headquarters is in chaos. They must hold Luxembourg City. If it falls, the entire American command structure in the south falls with it. The 23rd is given a simple, desperate order: hold. They are rushed to key roads and bridges leading into the city. They have no anti-tank guns. They have no armor. They have only their wits and their machine guns. A small team from the 3132nd Sound Company finds itself on a critical, fog-choked road. They know a German Kampfgruppe battle group of tanks and mechanized infantry is probing toward them. The real American armor, Patton's Third Army, is still days away, fighting its way north. The sound engineers have one last, desperate idea. They park their half-track behind a stone wall, pointing their 500-pound speakers into the fog-filled valley. They don't have a recording for defensive armor. They have to improvise. They put on the only tank sound they have, a full M4 Sherman battalion, advancing. The sound of 100 tons of clattering steel, grinding engines, and squealing treads blasts into the night. It is a bluff, but it is all they have. They are trying to make the German spearhead pause, make them believe they have run into the vanguard of Patton's relief force. A half-mile down the road, the German commander hears the sound. He halts his column. He is confused. His intelligence said this road was clear. He orders his lead Panther tank to advance cautiously, to reconnoiter. From their half-track, the American sound engineers listen. Their own recording is so loud, they almost don't hear it. A new sound. A lower, guttural, hydraulic rumble. A real one. A shape emerges from the fog. It is not an M4. It is long-barreled, low-slung, with the overlapping road wheels of a Panzer V Panther. Its 75mm main gun, a weapon that can kill a Sherman from a mile away, traverses, seeking the source of the noise. The engineers don't wait. They cut the recording, plunging the valley into a terrifying silence. They throw the half-track into reverse and tear back toward the city. The illusion has met reality, and reality has won. The 23rd takes casualties. They fight, they fall back, and they survive. But the bulge shatters their illusion. The war is not over. The Wehrmacht is not broken. But in its desperate gamble, the German army has thrown away its last armoured reserve. The bulge is contained. The Allies regroup. And now, there is only one barrier left, the last, great natural defence of the Reich, the Rhine River. The Ghost Army, having survived its trial by fire, is given its final, and most magnificent, assignment. March 23rd, 1945, 2100 hours. The west bank of the Rhine River, near Dinslaken, Germany. The river is 400 yards of black, fast-moving water. It is not just a river. It is the Reichsgrenze. It is the German Rhine, a symbol of national identity, the last great natural barrier defending the homeland. And the men defending it are no longer the conscripted forces of France. They are a bitter, fanatical mix of the 1st Parachute Army and Volkssturm militia, and they will fight to the last bullet. This is the most dangerous stage the 23rd has ever set. 15 miles to the north, at Wesel, Field Marshal Montgomery is preparing the real show, Operation Plunder. 1 million men, including the US 9th Army, are coiled for a massive, brutal, set-piece assault, preceded by a bombardment that will rival El Alamein. The 23rd's assignment, to convince the German High Command that this isn't the main attack, that the real crossing is coming right here, at Dinslaken, aimed at the industrial heart of the Ruhr. Once again, they must become the 30th and 79th Infantry Divisions, but this time they aren't simulating a static front, they are simulating a full-blown amphibious invasion. They have 36 hours. This is their greatest hits performance, combining every trick they've ever learned and inventing new ones. The 603rd Camouflage Engineers deploy their rubber arsenal, but with a new, terrifying addition. Rubber LCVPs, landing craft, vehicle, personnel. They line the banks with dummy amphibious duck trucks. They bulldoze new roads down to the water's edge, creating fake embarkation points. They build massive, fake engineer supply dumps, piling pontoons and lumber where German spotters can't miss them. But the masterstroke is a British trick. They call it artificial moonlight. The 23rd brings up 70 high-intensity searchlights. They don't point them at the enemy, which would blind their own assault troops. Instead, they point them straight up. The 70 beams hit the low-hanging clouds, creating a massive, diffused, ethereal glow over the entire sector, the unmistakable sign of a major engineering operation about to commence. The signal company fires up its radios. The fists of the 30th and 79th Divisions fill the airwaves. Confirm embarkation points. Artillery, stand by for prep. First wave will be Charlie Company. The Germans across the river are listening to everything. Their commander, General Oberst Alfred Schlemm, a veteran paratrooper, receives the reports. His forward observers see the searchlights. His radio men hear the chatter. Then, at 2,200 hours, the 3,132nd Sound Company begins the symphony. They have new recordings, the growl of DUKW engines, the splash and chug of outboard motors on assault boats, and, of course, the deafening, 5-mile audible thwack 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 of pontoon bridge construction. For the German soldiers huddled in their bunkers, it is a nightmare come to life. They can see the glow, they can hear the radios. And now they can hear the 30th Division building a bridge right at their front door. Schlemm is convinced. This is not a feint. This is a massive, 2-division attack. He makes the call that will save thousands of American lives. He orders every artillery piece. He has hundreds of 88mm guns, 105mm howitzers, and mortar batteristo concentrate on the 23rd's Phantom beachhead. At 0200 hours on March 24th, hell is unleashed. The German barrage is not a test. It is a fire for effect bombardment of annihilation. The men of the 23rd, hiding in cellars and deep foxholes, can only cower as the world is ripped apart. Their rubber LCVPs are vaporized. Their inflatable tanks are shredded into confetti. Their speakers are punctured by shrapnel. Their trucks burn, the flames lighting up the artificial moonlight. For 2 solid hours, the German 1st Parachute Army wastes thousands of its precious, irreplaceable artillery shells on an army of air and sound. Then, 15 miles to the north, under cover of their own massive bombardment, the real US 9th Army hits the water. They are expecting a massacre. They find quiet. The German batteries that were pre-sighted on their crossing points are silent, their guns still smoking from the Dinslaken barrage, their ammunition depleted. The crossing is made with astonishingly light casualties. The 23rd has drawn the fire. They have traded their props for a bridgehead. They have held the line by being a lie. As the sun rises, the exhausted men of the Ghost armor their mission, complete pack up what's left of their inflatable army. The war, for them, is finally over. But the final act of their incredible deception was yet to come. April 1945, Germany. The Third Reich is a smoking ruin. As the real 30th and 79th Divisions race across the German plain, the men of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops pack up what's left of their arsenal. It is a pathetic sight. They roll up rubber tanks pockmarked with shrapnel holes, their inflatable skins looking less like weapons of war and more like discarded circus props. They crate up speakers with punctured cones, their amplifiers fried by shell fragments. Their victory is measured in the tonnage of German artillery wasted on their illusions. Their battle honours are the craters left in empty fields where a real division would have been annihilated. When VE Day arrives on May 8th, they celebrate like every other soldier, but with a strange, quiet understanding. Their war has been a secret, and now the secret must be kept. The order comes down from the highest levels. This never happened. The 23rd is classified top secret. Its methods, its operations, its very existence, are to be erased. The men, who had been plucked from art schools and ad agencies, are gathered one last time. They are ordered to sign oaths of secrecy, binding them to silence for a minimum of 30, 40, even 50 years. They are told, in no uncertain terms, that if they speak of Operation Fortitude, or Operation Viersen, or the Rhine crossing, they will face a court-martial, prison, and a dishonorable discharge. Their unit records are fabricated. Their official histories are sanitized. The Ghost Army is officially and summarily executed, buried in a deep vault of classified bureaucracy. The 1,100 men return home to America. They melt back into the society they helped save. They kiss their wives. They go to college on the G. I. Bill. They start families. Bill Blass goes back to New York and, instead of designing divisional patches, begins to design dresses, becoming a legend of American fashion. Ellsworth Kelly, his mind forever changed by the patterns of camouflage, becomes a foundational artist of the color field painting movement. The sound engineers go back to RCA, the advertisers to Madison Avenue. And for decades, they say nothing. At reunions, they can only speak in vague, "Do you remember?" generalities. When their children ask, "What did you do in the war, Dad?" they are forced to lie. "I was in an engineering unit. I handled radios. I drove a truck." History is written without them. Books on D-Day praise the brilliant deception of Operation Fortitude, but attribute it to a faceless bureaucracy of Allied planners. German generals, like Gerd von Rundstedt, write their memoirs, and they go to their graves, still insisting that the real invasion was always intended for Calais. The illusion was so profound, it outlived the war itself. The silence holds through the 1,950 seconds, the 1,960 seconds, the 1,970 seconds. Finally, in 1996, more than 50 years after D-Day, the United States government quietly declassifies the records of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. The surviving veterans, now in their late 70 seconds and 80 seconds, are finally allowed to speak. The story that emerges is not one of bloody charges or desperate last stands. It is the story of a traveling roadshow of creative geniuses who waged a war of the mind. They were the artists and engineers who understood that the easiest way to defeat an enemy is to convince him to defeat himself. Their casualty list was incredibly light. Their impact was incalculable. Historians estimate that the deceptions of the 23rd saved between 15,000 and 30,000 American lives. They held the German 15th Army at Calais, allowing the Normandy beachhead to survive. They held the line at Brest. They drew the fire at the Siegfried Line, and they absorbed the full, furious counterpunch of the German artillery on the Rhine, allowing the US 9th Army to cross almost unopposed. They were a 1,100-man unit that could, with the flick of a switch and the hiss of an air compressor, become a 30,000-man army. They proved that a loudspeaker could be more powerful than a howitzer, and an inflatable tank could be more valuable than a steel one. They were the Ghost Army, and their greatest trick was convincing the world, for half a century, that they didn't exist at all.